Thank you very much. So next up is Chris from DataHero. Let me know if I need to come up with my best data science jokes.
All right. Well, we tested this earlier.
That's very brave of you to do a live change as well. We have a brave roster of speakers tonight. Is this the Matrix?
This is special effects. Very, very expensive special effects. There we go. All right. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. And we're set. Brilliant. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Neumann, and I am one of the co-founders of a company called DataHero. Thank you for having me today. I arrived last night from California, not having checked the weather report before I got here. So, yeah. But thank you for having me. I'm going to talk to you guys about our platform, and I'm going to give you a couple of quick slides just to kind of set the context of who we are and what we do. And after that, we'll just go into another live demo. Well, if we can even get the PowerPoint to work. There we go. Oh, this is even better. That makes more sense. The last slide and the first slide are the same. Skill testing question. Okay, so a lot of people here come from the traditional data world. And, to set a little bit of context, in the traditional data world, our focus is on the EDW. And if we go back to the late 90s consolidation, we had this notion of let's take all the data silos, let's put them into an EDW, and that's going to be our source of truth. And we built all of our infrastructure around that. So we built BI tools around it. We built governance processes around it. The idea being that, okay, we'll have a couple of people in the organization who really focus on data that's interesting to the entire company. And over the years, we sort of started to see more and more data sets that were interesting. So if you looked at large companies, what you'd see is, okay, we've got, the data in the EDW. We want to augment that with, CRM data. We want to augment that with ERP data and things of that nature. So what we do is we'd go and we'd employ people, we'd build some custom ingest processes, and we'd sort of combine all that data in so that it would all still work nicely with our tools, our MicroStrategy, our Tableau. And more recently, we've started to see cloud services come up. So, okay, our company uses a lot of Salesforce. Let's make sure that we can, take that Salesforce data, we'll put that into the EDW so then we can access it through our Tableau and our BI tools. And Google Analytics will come out. So, okay, we'll get the Google Analytics data, and we'll put that in. Things are off and running. And then a few more services came on, and then a few more services came on. And what we're very quickly running into today is a situation where in a lot of companies, a lot of the data that people want to work with actually doesn't exist in the EDW. It's no longer predominantly on-premise data. But more interestingly, oftentimes the user isn't even in the middle of the circle. And what I mean by that is as we go further and further away from the BI groups and the traditional data groups in an organization, what we see is users who are actually interested in different permutations of data than the BI team might. So for this particular user, their view of the world might be like this, where the things they're most interested in are Zendesk, Salesforce, their own files. The EDW might be way off in the periphery, and Hadoop, which some of us here are really, really focused on, may be so far out of the realm of interest as to really, not be, even on their radar. So how do you empower these users who aren't in the BI group, they may not be traditional data users, to actually be able to work with the data and make sense of the data that maybe isn't interesting to the whole organization, but is extraordinarily valuable to them in doing their jobs? Well, today in most companies, it's a data analyst in a bottle. And so we often have the VP running in saying, hey, I need you to get this custom data for me. So the goal with DataHero is we are the first BI platform that's designed from start to enable any person of any ability to be able to work with the data that matters to them. And I'll show you some of the technology that we've developed. A lot of data classifications, data input, and visualization technology, which is designed to strip away the assumptions that most traditional products have about the mathematical and data backgrounds of the users. And with that, let's go right into a demo. All right. So this here is the home screen of DataHero. DataHero is all about accessibility. It is entirely web-based, so there's nothing to download, not like other products where it's Windows only and things like that. You literally go, sign up, create an account, and you start working with the data that you want to work with. There's 3 ways to get data into DataHero. DataHero supports direct uploading of any files that individuals have on their laptops, so CSV files, Excel files, things like that. You can connect directly to cloud storage services like Dropbox, pull in data from there, from native Google spreadsheets, things like that, or connect to a litany of business services that we directly integrate with, so everything from Salesforce to SurveyMonkey. And so to give an example of what we do, I'll take a look here, and not exactly the screen dimensions. If I take a look at Google Drive, you connect to Google Drive, you click that button, and we'll go through and we'll find all of the data files in your Google Drive that we think we understand. So CSV files, Excel files, native spreadsheets. We'll show those to you, and you can import one in just a single click. So as an example, what I'm going to show you is Google publishes every quarter a government takedown request file. So it's all of the reports they get from foreign governments saying, hey, please take down this data for us. It's a CSV file that we actually don't know anything about. So at this point, we know nothing about the structure of the data. We don't know if there's metadata in there. We don't know the encoding. We know absolutely nothing. What we're doing is we're running algorithms to figure everything about that data. So we're figuring out, is there some metadata or copyright stuff at the top we want to get rid of? Is it somewhere inset from the file? So what does that look like? Does it have headers? And what we've done is we've figured out everything about the data. So we've figured out that there are headers in this data. We've gone through and we've done the data type detection. We detect data types far beyond what traditional databases do because it helps us to guide users to get answers. So we've looked at this data and we've said, okay, there's dates up here. We've also looked at the text data and identified geodata. So we've looked at this and figured out these are countries and country codes, text, numbers, et cetera, et cetera. If we do anything wrong, we actually have classification algorithms that are based on confidence intervals. So we'll pop up a window for the user that looks like something you'd see in mint.com and basically says, we think this is an email address, but we're not sure. Can you help us out? And the idea there is, in a traditional BI tool, users are expected to have a certain understanding of their data. So they need to know, is a number a dimension, is a number a measure? How do I want to work with that number? A lot of people don't exactly know what those terms are, but they can tell the difference between currency and zip code. And so by using that as a proxy, we can actually figure out a lot about the structure of the data. So, we go through, we figure out, okay, this looks pretty good. And then what we do is we actually go and we automatically generate visualizations of the data for the user. So the second step, when we get outside of the data groups, what we see is people come into one of 2 categories. They either know the question they want to ask of their data, or they know the data is potentially valuable, but they don't know where to start. And so we adjust and address both of those by saying, we'll look at the data. And remember, this is data we knew nothing about. We'll look for patterns in the data. We'll look for correlations, distributions. For example, we'll look at, how many unique values are there in a text field, right? If you have 1,000 entries and there's 1,000 uniques, that tends towards an identifier. If it's 6 uniques, that tends towards a category, and we're going to use those differently. And so what we've done here is we've figured out there's geodata, we've figured out all of this other data. With one click, I instantly have a visualization. So literally without doing anything, I've selected a file we know nothing about. We've figured out the entire structure of the file, and we've generated a visualization of that data that the user can then interact with, and they can start looking and make meaningful decisions based on that. From there, everything in the DataHero interface is entirely drag and drop. And so you will find no typing in this interface other than things like titles. And that's, again, based on a lot of user testing. So if I want to take this chart, and let's say I want to see this over time, I can go in here, I drag this onto the chart, and it doesn't really show up very well on the dimensions here. But automatically what we've got is we have a visual that now shows the takedown notifications by country, by time. And so you'll see that we automatically change the type of the visualization there. And that's another key part of the user experience. If you look at a traditional data tool, anything even like Microsoft Excel, the first thing you're required to do is actually figure out what kind of chart do you want, right? So if I'm creating a chart in Excel, I select the data. This is on the x-axis, this is on the y-axis. I want a column chart. But if you're not mathematically inclined, that's actually a cognitive blocker because you're thinking about the question you want to ask. You're not thinking about the format of it. You may not even know what that format is. So we have a recommendation engine that for any given type of metadata, we can actually determine the most likely type that the type of chart that people want to visualize that in. And we create that for them. And then again, they can customize that. They can move sliders. They can change the default values. They can do things like, okay, it's grouped by quarter. I want to group this by, week, month, year, day of the year. All of these things that one might want to do with a visualization, change the chart types, all of those things. Going beyond here, we actually support quite a number of more advanced analytics functionality. So, for example, one of the things we introduced a little while ago is drag and drop cohort analysis. So if you actually want to do date-based cohort analysis, in Microsoft Excel, you do this by creating custom pivot tables. In Tableau, you do this by programming environment variables. In DataHero, you just drag 2 attributes onto a chart. So I'll quickly show that, and then we'll wrap it up here. So if I want to take, say, MailChimp data, I have a MailChimp campaign. This is one that I already imported. And if I want to see a cohort analysis, I literally can drag on the, the time when they opened the chart, when they first signed up. And what I have is, again, fortunately you can't see the entire thing here, you have a chart that shows all of your open rate of your mailing campaign based on when users signed up for your product. Something that's quite difficult to do in any other visualization or BI tool on the market, and definitely not something that you can do if you're not a particularly technical person. So quick introduction to DataHero. As I said, it's completely free, so I would love if you would all go, give it a try, sign up, try it out. And if you happen to be a more technical person, ask one of the less technical people who asks you to do data viz to give it a try and see what they think. We're trying to build a great product, and thanks again for having me.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Questions? There.
Hi, my name's Harvey Srinivasan. I work at the College Board. Frog in my throat, sorry about that. I'd like to hear more about who you think the user is for this, because you're talking about someone who's sophisticated enough to be interested in cohort analysis, but not enough to set it up themselves. So who in the company is that kind of person?
There's a lot of people like that, and that's a great question. So, cohort analysis is a particularly technical thing. But I don't have to be technical to say, I want to understand how people are opening our mailers based on when they signed up for our company's product. So we see a lot of people who are in marketing functions. We see a lot of people who are in retail planning functions, sales functions, management functions. On the other end, we actually have a large number of very technical users who find that they can do things in DataHero that they may know how to do, but they can do something here in 5 minutes that might take them 45 minutes to do in Excel.
Hi, sorry, I have another frog in my throat. Mariana Vaidman-Stone, I'm from Urban Green Council. My question was, can you combine kind of overlapping data sets and work with those, 2 separate Excel files?
Excellent question. You can't today. We will be introducing that early next year. We actually, when we first created this product and built the initial prototypes, we had the ability to join data sets. We actually pulled that out because as we were working with users and trying to really refine the interface, we actually found that it took a lot more work to just get a product that less technical people could understand the interface for a single data set. But you can expect to see that in the next couple of months for sure.
Jay Grossman from Weight Watchers. Can I call my own web services?
Not today. So we do not. We are looking at different ways to do an API probably towards the latter half of the year that will allow people to connect custom services. Right now, we're actually working very closely with our partners to do that in order to refine the recommendations that come in.
Okay. Tony Bear with Opum. What I'm very fascinated by is basically how you're able to recognize all that data. What's some of the stuff that you have going on underneath the hood?
Yeah. So no, it's definitely, there's a lot of really, really interesting stuff beneath the hood. I won't spend too long here. But we have a combination of heuristics. We have recommendation engines. A lot of our IP came specifically from the start in the classification, the ETL algorithms, which we initially seeded literally by going to every single web service we could find on the internet that had an export to Excel button. And everything our friends had and everything anybody we knew had. So we really seeded it with a lot of pretty interesting and diverse data. Happy to talk more technical stuff offline.
Hello, hi. My name is Ani. I'm from Bloomberg. I'd like to ask you, how does this platform scale with respect to larger data sets? And can you do expressions or analytics on top of the data which you have already supplied? For example, standard deviations, means, averages on the data in the data files.
Mm-hmm. Okay. First question is, today the data scales up to 10 or 20 megs. And the reason why is we started with the individual as sort of the center of the universe as opposed to, sort of the larger data sets. And what we found was in a lot of companies, as you get outside of the BI group, a lot of people actually aren't even interacting directly with the EDW, even when they have access to it. So a very large number of people within larger enterprises, their insight into corporate level data is actually the CSV or the Excel file that's automatically emailed to them every Monday morning. So we're not today designing this as a product that sits on top of an arbitrary larger store, but at the same time, we're also working and extending that scale constantly. In terms of analytics, today we're starting again with things that are of more interest to sort of less technical users. But some of the things that we're working on prototype interfaces for, things like detecting correlations, regressions, and a lot of the statistical functions. And those tend to be more figuring out the correct interface so that you can really explain that to somebody who may be a little bit less technical. What we really want to end up with is something where anybody can get in and use the product. The more advanced features are there, but they're sort of hidden out of the way so as not to appeal like a kitchen sink.
Great. Time for one last one. Actually, you need to take the mic so that you get.
Hi, sorry. Just in general, is it possible to tweak the algorithms for the end users? Say there's something that the end user's trying to determine, and you just might be off by, let's say, trying to calculate a number or something to that effect. Can the end user tweak your algorithms, or there's no such thing?
No. I mean, we're assuming that most of our users wouldn't even know how to do that.
Cool, great. Well, thank you very much.
Come ask me offline.
Yeah, you're going to be around.
I will be
after
around.
this. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.